Again with another video. Thank you all for watching. So this is a what if video on what if we had President Humphrey? What if Hubert Humphrey won the 1968 election? How would it look like? So the 1968 election, we're going to go to the very top, was Richard Nixon's back. He ran in 1960 against Kennedy and lost narrowly. Nixon, Agnew versus Humphrey and Muskie. Wallace was third party. Wallace picked up 46 votes in the South. If we look at the popular vote, 31.7 million comparative to 31.2 million in the popular vote, it's actually not as lopsided in terms of vote share. Obviously, Nixon won over 300 votes in terms of the Electoral College. So yes, it's lopsided in Electoral College, but in popular vote in percentage, it's not that far off at all. Yeah, Humphrey had 191. He carried 13 states plus DC. So for Humphrey to win, you need 270 up here. 270 to win. He's currently at 191, which means he needs 79 more votes in the Electoral College. So we are going to go down. Yeah, Lyndon Johnson decides he's not running. Nixon, Agnew. I find a Ronald Reagan 1968 concept so utterly fascinating. He got over 1 million votes in the primaries. That would have been fascinating. Reagan 68. Or Romney 68. Or even Rockefeller 68. Okay. So yeah, Humphrey, the vice president. Muskie, a senator from Maine. Other people who could run: McCarthy, McGovern, Kennedy. He got assassinated in California after the primary. If Kennedy was the nominee, I think he would have won. I really do. Johnson decides he's not running. Okay. We're going to keep going down back to where I was. Okay, yeah. Wallace is American independent. Curtis LeMay was chief of staff of the Air Force in the early 60s. Okay. So here is polling aggregates. Really close, in this part. Then the conventions happen, and then it's an absolute bloodbath after the DNC in 68 on a completely downward trajectory. But by the end, Humphrey was closing the gap. If there was another week, another 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks, I think Humphrey could have pulled it off, honestly. Wallace, he had a little peak in polling here towards the end, but he kind of fell off. Okay, we're going to head down to the bottom. Yeah, here's the by county. Wallace dominated down here. Minnesota's pretty blue. Texas was pretty blue down there. The Texas Democratic machine of the 1960s was pretty impressive. Massachusetts, you got West Virginia was pretty blue back then too. Okay, so we are going to go down to closest states where I was at the beginning. States where margin of victory was less than 5 percentage points. 223 electoral college votes were decided by 5 points or less. Missouri was close. Texas was close. And Maryland was close. So was Washington. Okay. For Humphrey to win, he needed to flip Missouri, Jersey, Ohio, and the tipping point state for a Humphrey win was Illinois. That's a lot of votes to flip. I mean, 20,000 votes, 60,000, 90,000, 130,000. I mean, if you have, what is that, 20, 60, that's 80, 170. If you have 200,000 more votes in the right place, you know, it's actually not that bad. Missouri, 20,000, yeah. So if you flip Missouri at 12, you flip Illinois, you flip Ohio, and you flip Jersey, those 4 states puts Humphrey in the White House at 272. Now, obviously, Nixon won those states. So that, Illinois went to him. Humphrey did not win Ohio. And Jersey did not go for Humphrey. So obviously, that's the real map right here. But the 4 states that could have put Humphrey in the White House in 1968, Missouri, was super, super close. You flip Missouri. You flip Jersey, which is a pretty big ask because, Jersey back then was pretty red. And if you flip, because Nixon right now, if you flip just Missouri and just Jersey, Nixon's at 272. You need 270 to win. If Humphrey flips Ohio at 26, nobody has 270. Nixon has 246. Humphrey has 246. Wallace has 46. The Electoral College is deadlocked, which means there's an election in the House of Representatives. However, a tipping point state for Humphrey is Illinois, 2.9% margin. Hubert Humphrey, the most realistic way Humphrey could have won the White House in 1968 is flipping Missouri, Illinois, Ohio, and Jersey. 272. Now, he could have kept going, but to be honest, you're probably not flipping California. You're not flipping over 200,000 votes. That's a pretty big ask. You could maybe flip Delaware. Unlikely. You could maybe flip Wisconsin. Maybe. That puts him at 284. Tennessee, I don't know. I honestly don't even think Wisconsin's. But, yeah, if Hubert Humphrey won Missouri, Illinois, Ohio, and Jersey, he's in the White House at 270. And that would have been very fascinating to see how Hubert Humphrey dealt with the war in Vietnam as president. But yeah, Wallace has 46 down here. Nixon, if those 4 states flip, he doesn't have 270. Humphrey does. But if if Humphrey only flips a handful of those states, then it's deadlocked. But that's probably the most realistic way Humphrey wins the White House in 68, those 4 states. So those decided by 20,000 votes, decided by 60,000, divided by 90,000, and decided by 130. That's a lot of votes to make up, but, if he kept up on his, where's that graph? The polling aggregate. Yeah, if he kept going, if he kept his upward trajectory, that wouldn't have been honestly too difficult for Humphrey to pull off. So Nixon ultimately won. But Humphrey was closer than you think. You know, if he got a couple 100,000 more votes in the right places, he's in the White House. I find President Humphrey, like, obviously he was vice president, but if he actually became president, that would have been really, really fascinating. So, that is the video. President Humphrey. He wins in 68. How he would deal with the war in Vietnam, I have no idea. But this has been a really cool what if video. So, thank you for watching. I greatly appreciate it. And I will see you all in the next video. Deuces.